Welcome back to Ball and Play. Today we have a special midweek podcast to talk about a document I'm really fired up about. A document that looks boring until you realize it's a blueprint for what college sports becomes next. Athletes.org dropped a collective bargaining agreement framework, a discussion draft on December 8th, so last week.
And let me translate. This is college sports trying to put on a suit and tie and walk into the pro world like, I belong here.
Exactly. And the question is this stability or is this the formal paperwork for a professional takeover?
So, Lee, what did AO, that's athletes.org, actually propose?
Well, first is the biggest tell. Athletes.org, which we'll just call them AO for the rest of this, says they want to replace the, and I quote, fragmented NIL compensation model, end quote, with a structure that consolidates compensation into a single income stream. And they want to shift away from strictly NIL based payments for athletic services.
That's not NIL, that's payroll with better PR.
They later say it even more plainly. Schools would pay athletes for athletic services, not just NIL rights.
So, if you're paying for athletic services, we are in professional territory, whether we admit it or not.
Well, just by the name, collective bargaining agreement, we're in professional territory. But AL also floats a quote, I have to use a lot of air quotes, right? A quote, non-employee, end quote, collective bargaining model, something like a special status approach where athletes might still be treated as independent contractors.
Which is a fancy way of saying, let's get labor structure benefits without calling them employees.
And as a lawyer, I'm reading this as stabilize operations, reduce lawsuits, and build a framework that can survive the next wave of litigation.
Next point, free agency. They said it out loud. The portal already feels like free agency.
And now athletes.org literally calls it that. College athletics, it's the college athletics version of free agency.
That language matters because once you call it a free agency, you start treating athletes like roster assets. Not students, not kids, assets.
And it changes everything. Culture, loyalty, development, the whole idea of a 4-year journey.
So what about money? The caps, floors, and how this leads to the leagueification of campus.
So AO suggests using the house settlement amounts as the first 4-year framework. And then they propose compliance structures that sound like a pro league. One example, schools must spend at least 89% of their athlete compensation budget on direct athlete compensation over a rolling 4-year period.
That's a salary with extra floor steps.
They also propose removing the CSC's FVM system. So that's the College Sports Commission's fair market value system, and replacing it with collectively bargained enforcement, which is what a CBA is. And you all know how I feel about the College Sports Commission and the agreement they sent out to all the schools. And if you don't know how I feel about it, you should watch the fast break that I'll link below that I recorded while I was out on a walk. I was so irritated and incredulous about it.
Now, that's a big power shift. But here's my red flag. Who gets to control the group licensing the money?
Well, AO says it will collect dues and maximize group licensing rights through its for-profit sister company, Athletes, Inc.
That may be normal in pro sports, but in college, it creates one unavoidable question. Are we building athlete protections or building the next power center?
I am quite certain that it is the latter. Moving on, though, as an agent, attorney, and former high school athlete, I am 0% against professionalism in college sports as far as students being paid for their NIL. But I am against sloppy centralization. AO proposes agent certification, exam, background check, registry, and they explicitly say the registry would control fee regulations and certification requirements. Now, that's okay for the MLB, the NFL, the NHL, etc., but for one entity to control agent access across all sports and all schools for any college student, I have a problem with that. And especially when you see who benefits financially from the registry and the fees and the requirements.
Now, agent certification can protect athletes, and it would certainly be easier as agents to just be certified in one centralized place instead of by state. But I see this becoming more of a choke chain, and there are a plethora of problems with how agent regulation is laid out in this draft.
Right. And we're both agents. So, like I said, we have an interest here as well. The draft needs a clearer separation between, for example, individual NIL marketing representation by an agent and massive institutional or group license, the massive institutional group licensing ecosystems. Otherwise, you're building a system where access to athletes is controlled by whoever runs the registry. And in my opinion, this is just my opinion, that is already being done by who can join athletes.org. But we won't go down that rabbit hole right now. So
We do need to give credit where due, though, and the CBA does address health and safety of college athletes.
agreed. They do. They actually do a good job about this. Some of the best parts of the draft are the athlete protection concepts. Injured reserve designation, scholarship protection tied to an injury, and a right to a second medical opinion.
They also discuss independent arbitration frameworks like the AAA or FAIR, and AO proposes access to facilities with notice and immediate access if health and safety issues arise.
That part is real, and it does help athletes.
Agreed. The question is the trade. How much governance power gets created to deliver it?
So, and that's where, here's the bottom line, right? AO's draft is not just NIL. It's a structural proposal to professionalize college athletics, standardized contracts, consolidated pay for athletic services, free agency framing, enforcement systems, arbitration, licensing arms, and agent certification.
College sports can evolve, but don't lie about what it's becoming.
Exactly. If we're going to build a new model, we need to protect education, which I don't hear anybody talking about, protect Olympic sports, protect due process, that little pesky constitutional thing, and protect athletes from being treated like disposable roster math. And this CBA does not do that. I'm Lee.
And I'm Michael. And this was a special midweek AAA Ball and Play podcast on athletes.org's proposed CBA for college sports. Join us for another special mini podcast on Friday at 7 p.m. when Lee and I discuss Cody Campbell's proposal to, save college sports.
See you next time.
You're listening to the AAA Ball and Play podcast. Quick note, this is for education and entertainment. Nothing here is legal, tax, or financial advice, and nothing we say creates an athlete-agent relationship. Listening or contacting us does not make us your lawyers or your agents. For advice, talk to a qualified professional in your state.